Welcome to Faith in 5, a weekly video devotional designed to discuss practical spiritual concepts in 5 minutes or less. I'm your host, Mark Vandella. Recently, I got connected to a coaching colleague, a new friend from a friend of a friend, and so we exchanged numbers and ended up connecting for coffee. And as we talked, we were just exchanging ideas and thoughts and how we go about our coaching businesses. And this guy is a little bit ahead of me, so it was really great to learn from him and hear how he approaches it. So we're just sharing these philosophies and approaches, and he said that he realized a long time ago that people have a lens through which they see the world, right? We have experiences, we have belief systems, we have upbringings, and all of those shape our lens. And he said the hardest part is for us to realize our lens because it's our lens. And so as we filter all this stuff through there, it's really hard to understand and see that anything else is different from what we understand. And so he said that's my goal always when I sit down with a client, is to help them see, to ask enough questions that they can start to take their lens off for a moment, or at least momentarily enough that they see that maybe it's not always exactly the way that they see it, or that the way that they move forward isn't by filtering things through the same lens. And when people come to me, a lot of times it's because something has happened. There's a life event that cracks that lens. Somebody has something go on in their life. You know, as I've been doing these videos, I've continued to get different requests for prayer. I've had a lot of conversations with people that things are going on in lives through men's groups and women's groups that are using these videos and discussions to kind of process their faith. I've been to 2 funerals for people who watch these videos. I've heard different stories about marriage difficulties, life issues, career loss or job loss, problems with kids at home. There's a lot of stuff going on in our lives, and I've heard you give me feedback on some of those things. So as a result, we decided to do an adversity series. So my friend Jeff helped me kick off this adversity idea in this adversity series with an analogy that he gave me. He said, imagine a fish swimming in the water, and you ask them about water, or you ask this fish about water. That fish is going to look at you sideways. They kind of always do anyways, right? But that fish is going to look at you differently and say, what are you talking about, water? See, he says that fish has a truth, right? That fish has a lens through which it sees the world, and without anything else happening in that fish's life, it will never know water, and it will never know not water. But if you throw a worm in the water and you catch that same fish, it is now painfully aware of both water and not water. And so without this experience, without this out of water experience, the fish doesn't even know it has a lens. It also doesn't know how good it had it. And the same goes for our lives. Without difficulty, we don't know good. Without bad, you don't know good. And so this maps onto our faith, that when we're going through struggles, we have to understand, we have to kind of reframe, as James does. As James is writing to the 12 tribes, he writes in his first book, he says in James 1:2-4, he says, consider it a pure joy when you experience difficulty. Or the Message version says, consider it a sheer gift, friends, when tests and challenges come at you from all sides. Because you know that under that pressure, your faith grows, your faith is strengthened, and he says your true colors come out. So as you experience these difficulties, right, as we work through this adversity series and you work through adversity in your life, consider that without these experiences, without these difficulties, you don't know good. And you wouldn't also know bad. You wouldn't know that any of it existed because of your lens. And I'm not saying we should go out and start asking God for him to pile really difficult things on us. There's enough in this life for that. But what I would say is, as we go live our lives, and as in talking to Jeff, he said the amazing thing is as you start to understand that you have a lens, as you start to shift that lens and adjust that lens, you become more aware of other people. You become more empathetic and more able to be compassionate to other people. And he said another thing that he notices happen is as you experience more and more difficulties, fear starts to disappear. He said it's almost like people puff up their chest and say, you can't hurt me. Right? Like Captain Dan in Forrest Gump. Is that all you got? Right? As we experience these difficulties, my friends, as you go out into this world and difficulties happen, rejoice. Rejoice in knowing that, one, you've just been made aware of water. But also rejoice in the fact that you now are in a spot where you experience the good and the bad, but you can do so with other people, and your life can make an impact on other people because of what you've experienced. Thanks for tuning in. If you want to follow us each week, click here to subscribe. And if you want to take it a little bit further, click here for discussion materials.